they just teased something very interesting as Marty St. Louis has some tweaks to the lineup coming as Patrik Laine has been making a name for himself in practice, and today he was heavily featured on the first line. Not only that, he was showing off some incredible skill as Montreal is teasing some very intriguing lineup changes, but Laine is on the trade board as we all know, and Kent Hughes, well, we know that he's also out there looking for a great player to add to this team as Ryan O'Reilly has resurfaced in rumors, but another Habs player has also seemingly been on the way out. And finally, a big update on Alex Newhook as he was seen skating today. One of the most dynamic forwards on the Montreal Canadiens is also nearing a return. The roster crunch is coming, but the hunt for other players, other big names, is also continuing to escalate. We're going to break down all the latest reports, everything coming out of practice, all that stuff on this live episode. Jesse, look, how you feeling starting this new week, right? Last week didn't go exactly how Habs fans planned. We're now in the wild card spot in the Eastern Conference, but this is a huge week with Colorado, with Vegas, with Buffalo again. This stretch of games reminds me of when Dobeš came up last year. Some big name opponents for a team that shines in the big moments. How you feeling coming into this week, seeing Laine, seeing Newhook, seemingly, hopefully, turning the page as we head into the month of February in the Olympic break?
How am I feeling, Josh? Completely unshook. Going into this week, feeling great, knowing we got the reinforcements coming at the perfect time, and some slightly ahead of schedule, which we're going to get into some key players for this team here coming forward. Again, we knew that there's going to be ups and downs in the season. We have to feel like, for the large part, the Habs have been outplaying expectations. If you're telling them this is where they're at the beginning of the year, they're taking it 9 times out of 10. Josh, just looking at how this Habs team really finished off that last kind of quarter of the year last year, I'm looking for these guys to even up that up, to really finish it up even bigger this year. And just with some key guys coming back, some of our guys playing better than ever, I'm feeling that the boys can do just that.
Yeah, I agree. And again, like it's a tough Atlantic division. All these teams have been absolutely ridiculous, but we know how good the Habs did after the Four Nations break last year, backed by Nick Suzuki. Now, Suzuki's going to be playing in the Olympics, but some of our other, Slav too, some of our other best players, though, like Dobson, like Hudson, like Caufield, these guys are not going. No, Kaiden will be. So anyway, it's a bit of interesting give and take there, but the Habs are going to hopefully be rested to tackle this next stretch of the season. But you're right, Jesse, we have some big injury reinforcements coming, and that starts with Alex Newhook. And if you guys didn't hear, if you guys didn't see in the intro video, Alex Newhook, he was practicing on his own in Brassard. He's been out since November 13th because he fractured his right ankle, but he's progressing. Jesse, he was there in full uniform today, and Alex Newhook, we know, is one of our best penalty killers. It's incredible to be able to get him back so soon, and you know what? We even got people in the chat already hyped about this, as Luke has gifted 5 memberships already. We're going to say those are courtesy of Alex Newhook himself, the Newhook Foundlander. Thank you so much, Luke, and if I say your name, you're now a channel member. Red Axis, John Doe, Dark, The Zellward, and Fraser. You are now all channel members. You can send all those emojis in chat. Thank you so much, Luke. I want you guys to shout out Luke. Jesse, incredible stuff to start off this stream, but Alex Newhook being on the precipice, well, maybe not on the precipice of a return, but at least ramping back up into form, just adds one more wrinkle into this incredible roster crunch that is coming up for the Habs.
Listen, Luke's hyped, we're hyped, because Alex Newhook was our breakaway player coming into the season. You asked us, who do we think is really going to come out of their shell? And Alex Newhook, to start the season, 12 points in 17 games, was doing just that, as we predicted, being that difference maker, Josh. And I have to say, so nice to see him out on Brassard, looking smooth out on the ice. And I think he just really kind of embodies how this Habs team likes to play, with a lot of speed, extremely creative, off the rush, playing in that transition. Like Alex Newhook getting it on the forecheck, playing with a little bit of panache. Alex Newhook really brings all these things to the table. So he's really coming, into his own right now. Coming off what is a tough injury, we have to say. Yeah. But again, all things considered, the Montreal Canadiens have been doing exceptionally good for how young they are and how many injuries that they've taken this team. A lesser team, this young, Josh, they would have been completely rattled. They would have unraveled as the season went on, not knowing to handle it. It's only because of the depth and the options that we have. We're able not only to ride out the storm, but I think still position ourselves quite competitively in what's coming into the final stretch here for the Montreal Canadiens. So it's going to be very interesting. For me, Alex Newhook, I look to see him being just like an impact player right from the get-go as soon as he's able to be back, Josh. Like, I'm just chomping at the bit. Is that we're going to have to wait 1 or 2 games? You have to feel like it's getting close, though.
Yeah, I'm hoping, like, I think the original timeline was, like, months, right? But, like, I don't know, like, not till March or something. But, hey, if he's skating, he looks comfy. I'm sure they're going to want him to be completely pain-free. There's no point in rushing him. But, again, like, in this division, there always is a bit of pressure on the player to, like, hey, man, if you get back sooner, we can do some good stuff. But I like the point about the depth, right? But not only did the depth carry us through, it almost made some very new, interesting links in the lineup, right? With Oliver Kapanen having to take over more of a penalty-killing role, more of a special teams role. Really, he filled in for Newhook in those power play and the penalty kill to some extent. He was kind of already doing a bit of PK, but Kapanen also stepping up and now playing on the second line, something that, we were thinking Newhook would get more shots at. He had a bit of time there, right? And he was doing really well, but also without Newhook and Kirby Dach, it forces the team to make a move, and you acquire Phil Deneau, who has had his ups and downs, but no doubt has been a positive defensively and on the faceoff dots. So Alex Newhook being out caused this team to kind of reconstruct itself a little bit, like a little bit of a retool in the middle of the season, if you want to put it that way. But I think there's still a lot more moves coming, and let us know how excited you guys are for Newhook in the chat before we move on. I want to say good morning to Canadian Dude in Oz. People say Austin Powers, Unclutch Matthews. Are you talking about Austin Matthews? I don't know what's going on in the chat. Anyway, if we had Austin, we'd be over the top. I don't know if he's talking about Austin Matthews, but I don't know about that. Did you guys see that William Nylander thing? Did you see that, Jesse? Where like the camera was panning in on him?
Completely uncouth.
Yeah, well, it was, I don't know, there's trade rumors going out there. Like, didn't Guy Carbonneau do that back in the day? And then he was, I don't know, he was a guy, I don't mind it. Anyway, gonna get off that subject, but Alex Newhook coming back is soonish. Maybe it could be 2 months, could be 3 months, who knows? But he is skating, and that is the great news. But we're talking about trades the Habs did already make, like the Phil Deneau acquisition, and trades that could come very soon. And before we get into a guy that could very well be on the outs, I want to talk about another guy that we've mentioned before, and that is Ryan O'Reilly. And there was an article that's linked down below from Michael DeRosa at the Hockey News, and writes a bunch of articles. And again, we link all the articles down below from these people. When looking at trade candidates around the NHL, Nashville Predators center Ryan O'Reilly is standing out as a prime potential option for the Canadiens to consider. Now, this is not a new thing, Jesse. Ryan O'Reilly has been on our radar for a while. I know you have spoken very highly of him time and time again on the show, but his production has shot through a cannon. I mean, he was a near point per game guy earlier this year. He had 50 points through 50 games. He didn't get a point in his last game, 50 points in 51 now, but he was at 50 and 50, not to mention the face-off. And Jesse, I mean, to me, this guy is just one of those guys that you can't ignore, especially because it's 4.5 mil this year and next. The question is, would it cost the farm to get him? As we look at these percentiles, it is green everywhere, 55% on the dot. Top 90th percentile in power play points. He's 87th in the league, but a lot of players don't even get power play time. Don't forget, 97th percentile, top 30 in even strength points, top 30 in assists, top 35 in points in the league. Yeah, he's aging, Jesse, at 34, but to me, the more talk there is around Ryan O'Reilly, the more I start to get interested in a move very similar to this, and I know that this has been a little bit of a favorite of yours for some time.
Well, I mean, already a favorite, and then you look at the unreal season that he's having again, 50 points in 51 games. He's on a pace right now to have a career best year for himself here. There's a lot of reasons why, though, of how he's a fit. He plays that two-way game. The production's there. A vet coming from the Western Conference, easier to make that trade happen. One of the biggest reasons, though, Josh, and I know I'm kind of a stickler on this, though, is that, like, he's a leader. So you have to feel like he would fit in with the culture of the room. And when we're looking at like potential trade candidates, and there's been a couple lately. I don't think we need to get into names here where we're not going to recklessly throw shade, but we're going to definitely shine a light on somebody who we think would fit our team very well, which is Ryan O'Reilly in so many ways here. Obviously, it's like when you see what's going on in the Atlantic Division, though, Josh, like I'm wondering if that gives like Kent Hughes like a little bit more motivation to potentially do a trade. And now we know one thing about Kent Hughes, like I will answer part of this, is that like, we know like one thing, he likes to do trades on his own account, not by what's going on according to the timeline of the team, of what we need, right? And not kind of in reference to other teams. At a certain point, like you got to feel though, if like, okay, some of these key games coming up against, Sabres or Avalanche, like maybe like how would a Ryan O'Reilly, like how would he impact this team by having him in the lineup, right? And I don't think that that's the only reason, again, the competition, but I think you need to look at and say, if we put that player in, would our chances really dramatically change? And I think they definitely could in a lot of ways. Will, he's a +8 rating. He's on a heater right now, 6-game point streak right now. Again, and he's signed until the end of next year. So he's not just simply that rental player. Like, it kind of lines up where, again, like for me, that's a perfect window. We have him until the end of next year. You get him to kind of tutor Xhekaj a little bit. Kaiden benefits from him being around. And I think there's a way to potentially make that all work while still maybe giving some vet experience to our young guys before he potentially rides out into the sunset.
100%. I think that's a fantastic point. And I want to bring up one thing you said too that I really like. And I want you guys to check this out. Type Y for yes if you would target Ryan O'Reilly. Type N for no. I want to see you all going in the chat. And I want to address one thing you said, and that's, does he like effectively make us a lot better right now? And I think the answer to that is yes. And I think that there's some names out there like Alexis Lafreniere, which I don't love. Like, he doesn't make the team significantly better right now. O'Reilly brings a lot of facets that I do like, that will make this team better. Objectively, he's an upgrade at 2C, right? Again, it's shorter term, but that leadership, that experience, that holds on well past his contract. So there's a lot that I like about Ryan O'Reilly, and I'm going to let the chat roll in right now. There's a lot of yeses and nos, but Jesse, we had a very, very important donation come in during this segment, and we got to give a huge shout out to HackDog56. I want every single person who's active in chat to go like HackDog's message and just say thank you, HackDog, for the $100 donation. Incredibly, incredibly generous. Thank you so much. Hackdog says, keep up all the great work, boys. We just need two things. 1, more watch parties. 2, Caufield emoji. Jesse, I think for Hackdog's long tenured support and for that incredibly generous donation, I think we absolutely should. I think more watch parties are absolutely coming as the season goes on. When the Habs make the playoffs, definitely going to be a thing. We still need a Dobesh, although that's maybe in less demand now, and a Caufield emoji for the chat. I'm down for both those things, Jesse. Absolutely love the support. Thank you so much, Hackdog.
HackDog, thank you so much. We really appreciate your support so much here. And yeah, definitely, we're going to be looking to do a lot more live streams. Of course, you know, your support, that really helps to make these things happen. But I mean, it was so much fun, right, Josh? Last time we did a live stream, we're definitely looking to do lots more of that. Even just lots more of the lives. We know we have the weekly here on Monday, but we're looking to do that and bringing that in a little bit more on the weekends, though, even the live games as well. It's just so much fun. We obviously love doing that with you. So absolutely, you're completely right. Spoiler alert, we're definitely going to be doing a lot more of that, and in the very near future as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be so much more stuff coming. You guys are already seeing the new setup. I hope you guys like the new little graphics, these percentiles, all powered by Digest Media, by the way. Coming soon to the website, so you can look at this yourself. But thank you so much, HackDog, again. Thank you guys for supporting the HackDog Super Chat. I want to look in the chat. Jesse, there's actually a lot of no's in this chat. A lot more than I would have anticipated. Roger Murray saying, when will Fowler be back? That's a question only the Habs can answer. I would say not yet. But a lot of people, I think, are just saying, like, isn't O'Reilly afraid of Canadian markets? To some extent, maybe, yeah. I mean, but he did play in Toronto. That's one thing. I saw that in a comment. How do you get O'Reilly is the most important part. It's hard to answer otherwise. And I think that is the most important part of this whole equation, Jesse. It's just value. And it's something we've talked about when it comes to Laine, Kirby, Dach, Struble, who we'll get into in a bit. Like, the question is, how much would you get or how much would you have to pay? Because there is no doubt a guy who's on a $4.5 million deal this year and next, who's a point per game player, who is one of the best face-off guys in the NHL, who has Stanley Cup experience, who is a leader, every team's going to want that, right? Like 4.5 million, you can make that work. So the question is, how does Montreal outbid these other teams? And I don't think, like, O'Reilly might have a bit of a say in where he goes, but I think, again, there's high pressure in Montreal. He probably wants to win, but I think we'd be hard pressed to, we have the assets to overpay compared to other contending teams for sure. The question is, would Kent Hughes actually be willing to pay the price that a guy like O'Reilly will probably demand in what is looking to be a pretty big buyer's market with so many contending teams?
I absolutely think that we can figure that out. And this is probably one of the best positions for Nashville to get what they're looking for, and obviously for Montreal to get that back as well. Because we're going to get this in a second. Like, there are some roster players, and we're talking about some good ones here. And again, you know, like how they might be, again, I'm not saying that Josh Anderson's the center of this return, but we got lots of trade pieces. That's not the first guy. You asked me about it recently. If it's up to me, we're keeping Josh Anderson, but bringing in a guy like O'Reilly, you have to look at that again. And I'm much more, obviously we have those prospects, but if you're Kent Hughes, you have to feel like the first thing he's going towards trading future picks other than the prospects we have right now that we got when we were finishing a little bit lower in the standings, I think would be really the strategic play here going forward. You have to feel we're going to be better positioned in the standings going forward here. A combination of some roster players. You have to feel we're not getting away without giving any prospects, but maybe more of a B-level prospect, compensating that with future picks. Josh, I know that's my kind of sweet spot, but I feel like depending on what that is, there's a world where you're getting away with that.
Yeah, and I think whether it's O'Reilly or someone else, like I think there is eventually a trade that'll work out that way. And that's the thing. Kent Hughes is totally patient. Like he's not going to go, it's not like he's going to give up Xhekaj and a first and a roster player for Ryan O'Reilly. Like that's just not Kent Hughes' MO. That's not what's going to happen here. So I wouldn't worry about any kind of, like if we see O'Reilly's a Hab, you can bet that Kent Hughes is doing that trade because it's going to benefit the team long term. So I love your guys' thoughts there. I think more people are saying no on him than we anticipated, but I think most of that is probably coming from O'Reilly himself. Might not even want to go to Montreal, and I'm sure he'll hold a bit of power when it comes to Nashville's management of him. He's earned a ton of respect. He deserves it. So we'll leave it there. But Jesse, let's move on to, Habs trade targets. And there was another article from the Hockey Writers that highlighted a few trade targets for Montreal, including Dach and Laine. But the one name I wanted to mention here, this is from William Bourget, again, linked down below, Jayden Struble. And he said Jayden Struble may not generate headlines. Well, maybe for negative reasons sometimes among Habs fans, but he represents a classic deadline type discussion. Struble has been decent when called upon, bringing physicality, mobility, and reliability in a limited role, but the Habs blue line depth is quietly becoming one of the deepest in the organization. And it's hard to argue with that point because the Habs decor is kind of crazy right now, right? Like we have, Struble is the 7th defenseman, and yet we still have guys like Reinbacher and Engstrom who are going to make a push for the roster in the next couple of years, not to mention, like, not even under the radar, but other interesting guys like Bogdan in a few years. Who knows? Bryce Pickford, of course, is hot off the presses recently, though he has been hurt, I think, in the last couple games. Jesse, when it comes to Jayden Struble, to me, if you look at all the roster players on Montreal, if you go by likelihood to be traded, to me, he's right near the top, if not at it, simply because he's young. Teams will want to buy in on that potential. He has shown the ability to play with other high-level players like Laine Hudson, which is a translatable skill, and that's important. But like his contract is not that big. I don't know how you feeling about the idea of trading Struble, because I think at some point the decor will have to be blown up at least a little bit if you want to make any kind of space.
Yeah, having some options is great, but you have to feel like there's a very high likelihood of either a Jayden Struble, Patrik Laine, or a Kirby Dach being traded from the Montreal Canadiens before the trade deadline. Obviously, we're looking to add, which is part of it. But obviously, you put that kind of paired with the fact that obviously we probably have too many roster spots, players for the spots that we have right now. So again, I'd love to see in a poll, Josh, if we could maybe get that up. Like, who do we think is most likely, right? Is it Jayden Struble, Kirby Dach, or is it Patrik Laine here? Because like if you're Kent Hughes, like you don't like trading a player like Patrik Laine. Like he's not in the business often of like getting nothing in return for an asset, right? But I feel like with Patrik Laine, it's a potential situation where like they might kind of, it's the playoff run would be the exception that will let them kind of obviously see if we can benefit the team and maybe get some terms of some type of return in that type of aspect. That being said, it's like, I don't believe that Jayden Struble will be traded at the trade deadline. I think there's been too many injuries. And that Kent Hughes is really going to want that depth right now for the team. I do absolutely feel that this is going to be a trade going down this summer. Again, Adam Engstrom, David Reinbacher coming up. It just feels like he's going to be able to ride out the season. And again, might be able to provide some depth here in a big playoff run. But again, you just have to feel with the spots right now that we do have available. I'm seeing that trade coming up here in the very near future.
Yeah, it's kind of written on the wall, right? Like, it's not his fault. Like, he has done great. In minutes with Laine Hudson, we know how good that pair was last year. This year, really not great. They tried it again. It's one of the Habs' most used D pairings, but behind Matheson, Dobson, actually second is Hudson and Carrier, and then Hudson Struble is, I think, 4th or 5th. But still, like, they play a lot of minutes together. And if you look at Hudson's analytics with every other defenseman besides Jayden Struble, they're like, here, he's 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in terms of Habs D pairings for expected goals percentage, but with Struble, they're 7th. So he has sort of been holding the team back a bit this year, but it's also tough because his role has been more in question than ever, right? Like, he's just a guy that has not been able to get consistent ice time, whether it's because Adam Engstrom's coming up to take a spot or because Arber Xhekaj is showing that he has more chemistry with a guy like Carrier or even Guhle and is just bringing that physical edge a bit more. So when it comes to Struble, I think you know, if we're talking deadline, maybe not the most likely. Like, Laine is still that guy. It's like the expiring UFA contract, right? And I know, like, Dach and Struble, they're going to be due contracts as RFAs, whatever, in the future. But Laine is the upcoming UFA, and we'll get into him in a moment. But I still think, like, Struble, of those guys, is probably the most likely just to be traded in general. And we'll see what the fans say, Jesse, as the poll is ending. By the way, thank you all for liking this video. We're at 44. Thank you so much. Oh, I think we can get higher than that. We'd love to hit 50. Let me know who the 50th like is, and I will shout you out in chat. You're only 6 away. Thank you for liking this video. Kirby Dach comes in distant third, Jesse, at 16%. Patrick Laine in first at 48, and Struble second, 36. So what that signals to me is, despite all of the talk about trading a Patrick Laine, he has been one of the hottest topics for any trade around Montreal recently, as I'm trying to find his stats to bring up there. There they are. He's been the hottest topic of trade. But even with that, when we bring up the name Struble here, you can see he's not that far behind Laine. And I think that, to me, does speak to, again, how smart the fans are here. That they're not just buying in the hype of Laine got to be traded. There's some real factual stuff there of, like, this is not just Struble's not been great for us. It has to be an organizational move before he loses more value than he's already lost.
Yeah, and I think that kind of tracks with the odds here. I think Patrick Laine, again, just given the nature of his contract and how things have went so far, is the most likely to be traded here. That being said, he's going to be getting a golden opportunity on that first line, and he's going to have a little bit of runway here to see if he can't affect Kent Hughes and his thought process there. That being said, it's like, I wouldn't be surprised, Josh, if in a lot of ways, if because of the rise of a cap and of some other players, we're looking to maybe keep some of these guys. Again, the Laine, the Strubles, obviously the Kirby Dachs as well. He's got a little bit more contract. I think they're going to ride that out until that's always kind of been the date to see how the Kirby experiment will go from there. And again, very much like Laine, I'm not ruling out the potential for Dach to turn it around again, because obviously they have the potential to obviously be very effective players. And Jayden Struble, again, is a very effective player. And I think when we're looking at the expected goals as well, like, he does play a little bit more of a defensive game than a lot of the other Montreal Canadiens defenders. So I think that needs to be taken into account the same. That being said, is like, Arber Xhekaj has been playing a solid game right now of just like being unnoticeable, which almost seems counterintuitive when we talk about Arber Xhekaj. We always need to think like, oh, he's always effective when we're seeing him there and in scrums. And no, Arber Xhekaj is the best, the least that you notice him basically in a game, other than making kind of like those physical hits, because that's when he's just playing his role consistently. And it's been a very interesting battle between Struble and Xhekaj, right? And we saw Struble had the inside track on him just as soon as the playoffs of last year. Arber has been able to wrestle that back. So obviously very competitive, obviously complicated by the fact of Engstrom, Reinbacher coming up here as well. You got to feel like Struble knows this is going to be a motivation to end off the year. But again, this is an NHL caliber D-man. We just got one of the best D-cores in the league. And really, he's just a victim of that.
Yeah, and that's no problem of his own. It's actually just good management, right? Like that, and sometimes that's all it is. It's not personal. It's a business, and that's how you have to operate. And I want to go into chat quickly to shout out All About Hockey was the 50th like. We're actually approaching 75, so let me know if you're the 75th like, and I'll give you a shout out as well. Thank you, All About Hockey. What a great name to get that 50th like. Alex coming in chat. Good to see Alex. I think Laine, no doubt, he has an expiring contract and realistically could pop off. I just don't see him playing any higher than the third line for the Habs. Oh boy, do we have something coming up for you. We got a very interesting call to action in a second, saying Struble would probably be moved in a package, I think, unless someone wants to give a third rounder for him. And I think that's possible. Canadian Junaz saying Laine most likely if he doesn't lift his 5v5 play and snipe on the second power play. Okay, I think it's time to get into some of this because it's going to be interesting. But we do have another super chat from Mr. Niles. $5. Thank you so much, Mr. Niles. Such a long-time supporter and generous donator to the channel. I would sell my soul to have Lehkonen back in this top 6 right now. I love me some Lecky, Jesse. I think, Lecky in this top 6, although I will say the top 6 is pretty good. Lehkonen instead of Texier on that top line would be kind of a perfect fit. I know that's, water under the bridge now. Hey, we got Alex Carrier, which is no Arturi Lehkonen, because, you're Lehkonen to Barron to Carrier. That's kind of, I guess, how that trade tree has gone. But I agree, but I think Texier is holding the fort down. I try not to look back and wish we still had guys like that, but he's one of those guys, Jesse, that I can't help but feel got away.
For sure. And interesting how coaching or this deployment really plays out into all that as well. You got to feel, though, that Kaiden, in a lot of ways, is the spiritual successor to Lecky here. Great stag, plays good defensively, chipping on the offense as well, really playing all the details of the game. So I do love having a player like that because, again, that's the type of players that you win with at the end of the game. So just great to see some great draft picks of really continuing that tradition here in Montreal.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for that, Mr. Niles. And you know what? I think it's time to get into the topic of the hour here. I guess the half hour, or whatever you want to call it. What are we, 25 minutes into this thing? Let's talk about Patrik Laine. So we kind of already did mention him just then. A lot of you guys said you think he's the most likely to be traded, but the big news today is that Laine was taking some reps on the first line with Suzuki, Caufield, and Texier. Now, of course, Laine was one of the guys he's still not skating with an actual line because he's hurt, right? Like he's still not ready to come back from that core surgery he had, but he's inching closer and closer. He's been in a lot of practices lately, and today, yeah, he was skating in with that first line. Now, you might just say, oh, well, he's just skating in with them just to get some reps. Sure, but you could have had him lower in the lineup, right? You don't have to skate him with the first line. There was no one filling in on the second line. I think there was like Blais on the third, and there was some weird stuff, but Laine was out there with the first. And to me, this teases something very interesting. Now, while he wasn't out there on the power play units, which is his own interesting thing, I'm hoping that eventually he will be out there. The Habs didn't change the lines, but it was Laine, Veleno, and Blais who were the three guys kind of on the outside. And Veleno and Blais filling in the bottom six. It was Laine on that top line. Jesse, when Laine comes back, this is going to be a huge question. It's a big question right now. What line will he start on? Because this to me teases that he very well could go for that top line spot. Alex Texier, it's his spot to lose right now, but they already tried Dach there as soon as Texier was not good to go. It was okay. Dach still has some rust to shake out, but I want everyone in chat. Type 1 for first line, 2 for second line, 3 for third line, 4 for fourth line. I want to see these numbers coming in chat, and I want to see where you guys think he's going to be. Jesse, do you think this is just getting him some reps with skilled players? Or, like, do you think this is kind of showing that, like, this is a legitimate possibility? Because for me, I actually think that they're at least willing to test this out for real.
I'm shocked, and you got to feel like it's a legit possibility if they're trying it out here. But the reason I'm so surprised, Josh, is like you never really think of like Patrik Laine, and the first couple words come to mind is like coach's like best friend or something like that. Like we never want to say that there's been like issues between Martin St. Louis and Patrik Laine. That being said, like getting this opportunity on the first line, we know there is obviously a chance there. Texier's been doing good, but even he's kind of been a little bit of a substitute since we know Slaf is kind of carrying it on the second line right now. But with Texier kind of nursing a little bit of injuries, the fact that Patrik Laine is out there, stick on the ice, winning a couple board battles and some puck battles, I have to say, at practice, which is amazing to see. He's looking good out there. Like he's hustling, and he's that type of impact player, which again, like the reason that Texier does really well with Caufield and Nick Suzuki, he just like processes the game really quick. He's got that quick like hand-eye, and basically he doesn't hold on the puck too much. And like, obviously Patrik Laine is a super skilled player and can very much do the same thing. He's great with the one-touch passes, moving around, loves having the puck as well. So obviously like that, this is the ideal situation for like a player Patrik Laine's capability. In fact, you're never going to get the full benefit out of him without playing with your best players. But that's always the catch-22 as well, right? Because there's always the defensive questions which come into question, and you're putting them against the best players from the other team. So it's a risky move in a lot of ways, but I really like it. Just obviously given the situation right now, given that Slaf is doing so well on the second line, I think you absolutely need to try it here. I love Texier, but I'm not opposed to this experiment working out, Josh.
Yeah, and you know what? I think of this, depending how fast he can come back, right? Like if he can come back in a game before the Olympic break, which is kind of sucks he's not going to be able to play for Team Finland. I don't know how that's going to work, if like they'll make an exception if he's healthy. I don't know. I would assume he'd be on the team if he was good. But anyway, like playing on the first line, I saw someone in chat. This is the opportunity of a lifetime, right? Who said chance of a lifetime, says Mr. DeSell in the chat. Like it really is, but not just for Laine. Like you gotta make this work. Like if you're out there and you're not working with Suzuki and Caufield, the Habs are going to be quick to move off of you. But I don't only think that it's a chance for Laine. I think it's a chance for that first line. Like Suzuki's going to have to be playmaking extraordinaire. Caufield's a good playmaker in his own right. I think he doesn't get enough credit for that as well. But if you have Laine out there, you are showcasing him. If you're willing to put him on the first line, again, we talk about the odds of him being traded. Everyone thinks he's the most likely player to be traded by the deadline. Again, because he's making $8.7 million, because he's an expiring unrestricted free agent. you put him on the first line, you give him a chance to either show, dang, he got some real good chemistry here, his effort is high, he looks fast and smooth, maybe we keep him for this playoff run. Or if he looks really good, you might get a team to bite. Because I know a lot of the chatter right now, Jesse, has been, oh, well, you're going to have to pay a lot to get rid of Laine. And I just don't see that making sense for Kent Hughes and management. Like, again, we've talked about this countless times. Like, if you have to attach something to him, you might as well just let him walk, because then you're losing less, right? Like there's no incentive for Montreal to shed that unless they have another big move planned where they can immediately fill this 8.7 million. That'd be the only way that I think you'd genuinely give up something just to move off of Laine. So to me, I think this is not only showcasing Laine as like, hey, you get your chance with our big guns here on the top line. We're also showing to other teams, we believe in this guy, and look what he can do if he can go on one of your lines with some other talented players.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Suzuki plays enough defense for everybody. But there is potentially the aspect here where we know with Kent Hughes is that he has plans, but it's very much go with the flow.
Yeah.
And it's kind of two birds with one stone in the situation here where you put Patrik Laine in the best situation to succeed with the Montreal Canadiens by putting him on the top pairing. On the other hand, you put him in the best possible light that if you do want to trade him, that at least potentially we could get some value up there, and that maybe that's subsequent to some other moves being done here. So again, you have to feel like if you're with Patrik Laine, with how much money you're paying him, you have to feel like just for return on investment, like it needs to go out swinging at this point. We will see him on that second power play at some point in time. It's just going to be very interesting to see how this shakes up. I invite us to consider he's going to come in the playoffs and be that difference maker in a very selective type of way. It's going to be interesting to see, like, can Marty insulate him? Is he going to be playing at 5v5? Because I think, like, Patrik Laine is going to answer a lot of questions, right? Like, if he can really do that. But, Josh, it's almost a thing, like, even if he comes and plays 5v5, like, is it even enough at this point anymore, right? It's almost like not quite enough of a sample size with all the injuries. Everything else that's happened, we're just hoping for a solid playoff run, and we got to just take it from there if you're Kent Hughes.
Yeah, you just see what he can do, and I think he can do a lot. But yeah, like, I think there's more value again in just keeping him, seeing what he can do for this playoff run, and then reevaluating in the summer rather than try and rush a trade. And I think that goes for more than just Laine, right? It goes for Struble too. Like, it could very well be an off-season move. There's no rush to solve the 7th D problem right now, because Engstrom and Reinbacher are not going to make that push for the playoff roster. Like, that's not something I'm anticipating at all. Not at this stage, right? Just like we weren't supposed to have Jacob Fowler come up, but alas, we move on. But like Patrik Laine, yeah, obviously you don't want to let your assets go for nothing. That is not what Kent Hughes wants to do, but it's not really not like if he does a decent job here for a playoff push, not bad. He gives you an idea of what this team needs, and there's other guys out there. We see all these other names like Jason Robertson that could very well hold over until the summer. There's no rush for Dallas to move him. They're buyers. That's what the new reports say. They want to keep their guys and push for it. So, Jesse, I actually think that with all this talk, I see a lot of people talking about Newhook right now. When's Newhook coming back? Probably a couple months, but who knows? He's skating in full equipment, so they're not going to give us an update. But anyway, original timeline I think was like March, so we'll see. But I think this is all heading towards, even if it's not a noisy trade deadline, because Kent himself said he doesn't anticipate it being big. I think, again, this summer will show us a whole lot. You know, if Laine especially isn't traded, if Struble isn't traded, Dach, these contracts do, this summer is going to tell us a whole lot about the future of this wonderful organization right now.
At the same time, something needs to give, right? We love having these options. We love having Patrik Laine and Dach and Struble, and let's just keep everybody, right? But obviously it doesn't work like that at a certain point. We put ourselves in a great situation where a lot of other rebuilding teams haven't been able to quite get the point where they can make the choices built off the players that they have. So with Kent Hughes, it's all about kind of taking that power back to get the prospect, get the players, develop them, so you can really choose who you want. And we're really flipping that narrative now. It's not who's going to come sign in Montreal. It's we got too many good players. Who wants to come win with us? So I think that's exactly the type of team that Kent Hughes wants to be building.
I'm very excited about it. And as Alex says, hey, Demidov contract this summer. Oh, baby, I can't wait for that. Yeah, that's gonna be something. I can't wait to see how much we sign him for. I can't help but feel it's going to be a bargain, but hey, we'll wait and see. Can Patty Laine keep up with the line 1 at 5v5? I think that's a great point too. Like, 5v5 is the big question, Jesse. We saw it last year. The numbers were not good 5v5. They were pretty good on the power play, so we'll have to wait and see. But I think that's going to be it. Laine seems to like Montreal. I wonder if he re-signs at a much lower AAV. If something was tiny, maybe. But hey, that's it. And Hackdog sending the demigod emojis. Hackdog again, thank you so much for that $100 donation. If you guys didn't catch that earlier, you still see it at the top of the chat. Look, we got some demigod, we got some Laine emotes. If you're a channel member, you get all of those. Jesse, I think that's going to do it. There's lots of trade rumors happening all the time. Hey, if it's true that the pseudo trade deadline is that Olympic break, we got just over a week before some stuff's going to start going down around the NHL. We got the Rangers already holding Carson Soucy out of the lineup for trades. The Rasmus Anderson deal went down. I'm excited to hear some spice because I got to think that Montreal's going to be kicking the tires on certain players and can't wait to share in all of it. It's going to be an exciting couple weeks here.
Things are heating up really quick. Obviously, big stretch of hockey. And just a big thank you again to Luke, to Hackdog, all of our amazing viewers. Truly appreciate all of the support here on the channel, all the kind words. Love doing this for you every single day.
Absolutely. Shout out to Mr. Niles too, and to every single person who's left the chat here today. Any thoughts on the Demidov contract? My prediction 7 by 8.85. If we get Demi under 10 mil a year, I think I'd be thrilled. That's what we said about Hudson, and we did it. If they can get similar contracts, we're going to be insane. Anyway, but that'll be a topic for another day. Thank you for tuning in every single day. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Jesse Poirier. Thank you for tuning in. We'll catch y'all in the next one.